Welcome to our deep dive into money.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be exploring selections from Yuval Noah Harari's *Sapiens* and *Homo Deus*
Okay.
to uncover how this seemingly simple concept has shaped civilizations, economies, and even our values.
Yeah, it's fascinating how Harari reveals that money isn't just about coins and bills. It's a complex system built on shared beliefs and trust,
Yeah,
a concept that has evolved dramatically over time.
that's right. He takes us back to a time before money, to those early hunter-gatherer societies. They relied on favors and obligations,
Right.
a system that worked well in smaller, close-knit groups.
Exactly. But as the agricultural revolution took hold, leading to larger settlements and specialized roles, the limitations of bartering became clear.
Right.
Try imagining trading a cow for a haircut
Yeah.
in a bustling city. The sheer impracticality is pretty clear.
It does make you wonder how they managed. So how did this shift from bartering to money actually happen? What made people start trusting in something that doesn't have inherent value?
It was a gradual process, starting with items that had intrinsic value, like barley. It served both as food and a medium of exchange.
Okay.
But the real leap occurred with the adoption of things like silver shekels,
Right.
which held no practical use beyond their assigned value.
It's amazing to think that something like a silver shekel, essentially a piece of metal, could hold so much power simply because everyone agreed it did.
That's the heart of it, a shared belief system, reinforced by political and social structures. Think about the inscription on the dollar bill, "In God we trust."
Right.
Even today, trust in institutions and ideologies underpins our financial systems.
And that trust, or lack thereof, can have huge ripple effects. Today, it's news headlines and social media trends that can send markets soaring or plummeting. It seems like the psychology of the masses plays a significant role.
Absolutely. From tulip mania in the 17th century to the dot-com bubble in the late 90s, history is full of examples where collective belief
Right.
or perhaps delusion drove dramatic market swings.
Speaking of belief and authority, the invention of coins marked a turning point. Suddenly, money had a standardized form,
Yeah.
often backed by the power of a ruler.
Yes. Those early coins, stamped with the image of a king or emperor, weren't just about the metal itself.
Right.
They represented a guarantee of value, a symbol of power and trust. Counterfeiting, for instance, wasn't just a crime against property.
Yeah.
It was an act of treason, lese majesty, a direct challenge to the ruler's authority.
That's a powerful example of how intertwined money and power can be. You can really see how that would have solidified trust in those early monetary systems.
Exactly. And as trade routes expanded, that trust extended beyond borders. Think of the Roman denarius, a coin accepted far beyond the empire's reach, even among those who didn't share the Romans' language, religion, or culture.
Right.
It speaks volumes about the unifying power of a shared belief in a currency.
It really highlights how money can transcend cultural barriers, almost like a universal language. This makes me think about the role of gold in history. Was that shared belief in gold's value a driving force behind globalization?
It certainly played a crucial role. The acceptance of precious metals like gold and silver facilitated trade between vastly different cultures and empires. It's quite remarkable to think that something like gold, with no inherent function beyond its aesthetic appeal,
Yeah.
could connect societies across continents.
It's like this invisible thread woven through history, connecting empires and economies. But, money isn't always this great unifier. Harari also delves into its darker side.
He raises a very important point, that money's universal convertibility can also erode traditional values and human connections. When everything has a price tag, even things like honor, loyalty, or love,
Right.
it changes how we interact and prioritize.
That's a thought-provoking point. So it's not just about facilitating exchange. It's about the potential consequences of assigning monetary value to every aspect of life. Can you give an example of how this commodification of values played out historically?
There are numerous examples, unfortunately. Think of parents selling their children into slavery, or the practice of buying indulgences, essentially paying for forgiveness of sins. In medieval Europe,
Right.
these acts, though morally reprehensible, were driven by a system that placed a monetary value on virtually everything.
Those are stark examples of how money can distort our values. It seems like this potential for exploitation is inherent in a system where everything can be bought and sold.
That's a key point that Harari emphasizes.
Yeah.
The trust that money fosters can become misplaced, directed towards the money itself, rather than towards people and communities.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for a society where relationships become transactional, and the market, with its pursuit of profit, takes precedence over human well-being.
That's a rather bleak outlook. So how does this relate to the rise of capitalism and the idea of a constantly growing economy?
Well, Harari argues that the rise of capitalism marked a crucial shift in our perception of wealth. Previously, wealth was seen as a finite pie. One person's gain meant another person's loss. Capitalism, however, introduced the revolutionary idea of a pie that could expand indefinitely.
So it's not just about accumulating wealth, it's about generating more wealth, leading to this constant drive for economic growth. What fueled this shift in thinking?
Several factors contributed, including the scientific revolution and the burgeoning idea of progress.
Right.
People started believing that innovation and technology could create more wealth, which fostered greater trust in the future and enabled the expansion of credit systems.
This is where Adam Smith and his The Wealth of Nations come into play, right? The idea that pursuing individual self-interest can ultimately benefit society as a whole.
Exactly. Smith argued that by striving for profit, individuals would innovate, produce, and trade, leading to an overall increase in wealth and prosperity. This invisible hand of the market, as he called it, would guide self-interested actions towards a common good.
It's interesting how Smith essentially reframed greed as a virtue, at least within the framework of a free market. It's a pretty radical departure from traditional views of morality, but has this relentless pursuit of growth come at a cost?
That's a question worth considering. While capitalism has undoubtedly generated immense wealth and technological advancement, Harari also points out that it's become more than an economic system. It's transformed into a dominant ethic, one that often prioritizes economic growth above other values, like justice, freedom, and even happiness.
So the question becomes, is there a way to balance this drive for economic growth with other values? Can we harness the power of capitalism without sacrificing our humanity in the process?
That's where things get even more interesting as we delve deeper into the future of money and the potential challenges and opportunities it presents. But that's a discussion for funny. Part 2 of our deep dive. Picking up where we left off, one of the most intriguing aspects of Harari's work is his exploration of how emerging technologies like artificial intelligence could reshape our relationship with money, work, and even our understanding of what it means to be human.
It's definitely a topic that sparks both excitement and a bit of apprehension. He paints a pretty stark picture of a future where AI could disrupt not just specific jobs, but entire economic systems. I'm particularly struck by his concept of intelligence decoupling from consciousness. It's a mind-bending idea to consider.
It challenges our traditional understanding of intelligence, doesn't it? We tend to associate intelligence with consciousness, with feelings and self-awareness.
Right.
But Harari argues that AI might achieve superintelligence without ever developing those human qualities.
So you're saying we could have machines that are capable of making complex decisions, even outperforming humans in many areas, but without any sense of self or emotional experience. That's a hard concept to grasp.
It might seem paradoxical, but think of it like this. A sophisticated algorithm can analyze massive amounts of data and make predictions with incredible accuracy.
Yeah.
Yet it doesn't experience joy or fear in the process. It's like a chess-playing computer that can beat a grandmaster but feels no sense of accomplishment.
Ah, that makes it a bit clearer. But how does this relate to the potential for economic disruption? I recall Harari using the example of self-driving cars replacing taxi drivers.
That's a great example. It illustrates how AI could automate tasks that were once considered uniquely human, leading to significant job displacement. And it's not just limited to driving. Harari suggests that algorithms could potentially outperform humans in a wide range of professions, from legal analysis to medical diagnosis, even creative fields like art and music.
That's a bit unsettling, to be honest. It makes you wonder what will happen to people whose skills become obsolete in this AI-driven economy. Harari even uses the term useless class to describe this potential outcome, which seems a bit harsh, don't you think?
It is a provocative term, but I think his point is that if a significant portion of the population loses its economic value, we need to rethink our societal structures and values. It's not just about finding new jobs, it's about finding meaning and purpose in a world where work might no longer be the defining aspect of our identity.
So it's not just an economic challenge, it's an existential one. This brings us back to his concerns about the potential clash between AI and the principles of liberalism.
Exactly. Liberalism, as we've discussed, emphasizes individual rights, freedom, and the inherent value of each person.
Right.
But if AI surpasses human capabilities in many areas, including decision-making, it challenges the very foundations of this ideology.
I'm curious about this idea of algorithms making decisions for us. It sounds a bit like science fiction, but Harari presents some compelling arguments.
He suggests that as AI becomes more sophisticated, we might become increasingly reliant on its ability to process information and make choices. We already see this trend in our daily lives with algorithms curating our news feeds, suggesting products, even influencing our dating choices.
It's true. Those personalized recommendations can be quite persuasive, especially if they seem to know us better than we know ourselves. But doesn't this raise concerns about autonomy and free will?
That's precisely Harari's point. He argues that if we become overly reliant on AI to make decisions for us, even seemingly minor ones, it could erode our sense of agency and our ability to think critically. Imagine a future where we consult algorithms for everything from what to eat to whom to marry.
Okay, now that does sound a bit dystopian, but how realistic is this scenario? Are we really at risk of surrendering our autonomy to algorithms?
I think it's a question of degrees and awareness. Harari isn't suggesting that we'll suddenly become mindless robots controlled by AI overlords.
Right.
But he's cautioning us to be mindful of the subtle ways in which algorithms can shape our choices and behaviors.
So it's not about rejecting technology altogether, but about using it wisely and being aware of its potential impact on our lives and values.
Absolutely. He also highlights the potential for AI to be used for positive ends, such as addressing climate change, improving healthcare, and creating a more equitable society. It all comes down to how we choose to develop and utilize these powerful tools.
It seems like the key takeaway here is that we need to be active participants in shaping this technological future, rather than passive recipients of whatever innovations come our way.
I agree. And this leads us to another significant concern that Harari raises: the potential for biological inequality. While liberalism can accommodate economic disparities, it's fundamentally based on the idea that all humans have equal inherent worth. But what happens when technology allows us to enhance certain individuals, creating a class of superhumans?
That's a thought-provoking, albeit slightly frightening, concept. He uses Angelina Jolie's decision to undergo a preventative double mastectomy based on genetic testing as an example of how we're already using technology to alter our biological destinies.
It's a powerful example of how technology is blurring the lines between choice and predetermination. And as genetic engineering, brain-computer interfaces, and other biotechnologies advance, the potential for enhancing human capabilities, from cognitive function to lifespan, becomes increasingly real.
It's both fascinating and a bit terrifying to think about the implications. Will these enhancements be available to everyone, or will they create a new elite, a biologically superior class that further exacerbates social divisions?
That's the crucial ethical dilemma that Harari wants us to grapple with. If we're truly on the cusp of a technological revolution that could redefine what it means to be human, what values will guide our choices? Will we strive for equitable access and share benefits? Or will we allow these technologies to deepen existing inequalities?
It's a lot to ponder. I appreciate how Harari doesn't shy away from these tough questions. He seems to suggest that the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create through our decisions, actions, and beliefs.
That's a really important point. He's not just predicting the future. He's urging us to take responsibility for shaping it. He wants us to be conscious and deliberate about the kind of world we want to create, especially in the face of these transformative technologies.
So where do we go from here? Does he offer any solutions or guidance on how to navigate these complex challenges? So we've covered a lot of ground, from the historical evolution of money to the potential disruptions of AI and biotechnology. But does Harari offer any guidance on how to navigate these complex challenges? Does he leave us with any sense of hope?
Well, he doesn't offer easy solutions or a step-by-step guide, but he does emphasize the importance of awareness and conscious decision-making. He reminds us that the future isn't preordained. It's shaped by the choices we make, both individually and collectively.
I appreciate that he doesn't fall into a purely dystopian or utopian view of the future. It feels more like a call to action, urging us to be active participants in shaping the future we want.
Exactly. He suggests that instead of being swept away by technological currents, we need to develop a deeper understanding of ourselves, our values, and our aspirations. It's about cultivating what he calls an inner compass to guide us through a world where traditional anchors, like work and social structures, might be undergoing radical transformations.
So it's not just about mastering new technologies, it's about mastering ourselves, understanding our own biases, motivations, and desires. This makes me think about his point about the potential erosion of traditional values by money's commodifying influence.
That's a crucial connection. If we're not careful, we could end up outsourcing our values to algorithms, allowing market forces and technological efficiency to dictate our choices and priorities.
It seems like a delicate balancing act, embracing the potential of technology while safeguarding our human values and agency. He doesn't seem to be anti-technology, though.
No, not at all. He acknowledges that technology can be a powerful force for good, but he stresses that we need to wield it consciously and ethically. He uses the analogy of a hammer. It can be used to build a house or to inflict harm. It all depends on the intent and skill of the user.
That's a helpful analogy. It reminds me of his warning about the potential for a digital dictatorship, where algorithms make all the decisions and humans become essentially beta points. But then he also talks about using AI to create a more equitable and sustainable world.
Right. He presents these contrasting scenarios to highlight the range of possibilities. He's not saying that one outcome is inevitable. Rather, he's emphasizing that the future is still very much in our hands. We have the power to shape it, but we need to act consciously and deliberately.
So what are some practical steps we can take to navigate this uncertain terrain? He mentions the importance of education and critical thinking skills, right?
Absolutely. He argues that we need to equip ourselves with the tools to critically evaluate information, especially in an age of information overload and algorithmic manipulation.
Yeah.
We also need to be adaptable and resilient, capable of learning new skills and adjusting to a rapidly changing world.
He also talks about the importance of community and human connection, finding meaning and purpose beyond work and economic productivity. It seems like he's suggesting that our human relationships will become even more vital in a world increasingly dominated by technology.
I think that's a key insight. As technology automates more tasks and reshapes our social structures, we need to cultivate those human connections, those bonds of empathy and understanding that can't be replicated by algorithms.
So if we had to distill this deep dive into a single takeaway, what would it be?
I'd say it's this. The future is not something that happens to us. It's something we create through our choices, actions, and beliefs. The key is to be aware, to think critically, and to act with intention, both individually and collectively.
That's a powerful message, and it leaves us with a final thought-provoking question. We've been exploring money as a tool, a system, a force that shapes our world. But what if, instead of being controlled by money, we learn to control it? What if we use it as a tool to build the kind of future we want, a future that prioritizes human well-being, sustainability, and justice?
That's a challenge worth taking on. And it starts with understanding the complex history and multifaceted nature of money, as we've been doing in this deep dive.
It's definitely given me a lot to think about. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of money. We hope it sparked some new ideas and inspired you to consider the possibilities and responsibilities we all share in shaping the future. Until next time, keep diving.
Thank you for tuning in to the Power Book of Podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join our growing community. Click the bell icon so you never miss an update. We have so much more inspiring content coming your way.